So let's cultivate our motivation. And think about, what does it really mean to help people? What does it really mean to benefit them? And together with that question, are there ways in which we think we're benefiting somebody that actually isn't beneficial? But first, really think about, what does it mean to benefit? What is the goal of benefiting? And then based on what you come to about what it means to benefit and how to do that, then generate the bodhicitta. So if your idea of benefiting others does not include developing your own skills and wisdom and compassion, then you've missed the point of bodhicitta. So this question of benefiting and what it means is quite a serious question. Because usually when we think, oh, what does it mean to benefit? Then it's like we translate that into, how can I change somebody? Yeah, how can I change them? And so it becomes focused on changing the other person without realizing that benefiting isn't just a matter of knowledge or technique. It's also a matter of who we are as a human being and what we convey to others through our way of approaching situations and our way of handling things and our capacity to hold things. Okay, so benefiting someone isn't just changing them and fixing them. Okay, it has to do with changing ourselves so that we have something to offer that can be helpful to somebody. So it's both things. It's, offering to sentient beings, but if we don't change ourselves, it's the blind leading the blind. Okay? So we have to, it's benefiting others isn't, I know everything and I'm bequeathing it on you, you very fortunate person who I'm benefiting. Don't forget. But it's really changing ourselves so that how we just feel and relate about people, then, what we say and do becomes beneficial. Okay? So it's two things combined: changing self, wanting to benefit others. Okay. Now, what does it mean to benefit others? Because that's, what this whole text is about. We want to benefit others. So, like I said, very often our idea of benefiting somebody is to change them so that they will become what we think they should be, and so that they will think and feel what we think they should think and feel. Okay, and so we think benefiting means giving advice. Okay, now, have you ever been in a certain mood or a certain place in your life where people have given you advice when you didn't want advice? Yeah, what did you want at that time? Just to be heard, just to be understood. Yeah, you don't want anybody else commenting and telling you you shouldn't feel that way, like you reassure them and, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, and that's not realistic, and you don't think like that, and then you tell them how they should think. Yeah. So sometimes, I think very often actually, people just want to be heard. Yeah. And if they want advice, yeah, then they will ask for it. Sometimes they even ask for advice, but really what they need is encouragement to figure things out on their own. Okay, they often say, well, what do I do? And then you you tell them, and they say, yes, but, remember the yes, but people? So what those people, what really will benefit them is encouragement to figure it out themselves. What do you think? You're in your own shoes. What do you think will benefit you? What do you think is a good way to regard this situation? Instead of playing Miss Fix-It or Mr. Fix-It. Mm-hmm. So this is something to think about. When you're a mentor to somebody, like in the Abbey, we have mentors. The mentor isn't the one who tells you what to do or gives you advice. Yeah, their first thing is to listen to you and to understand you. And if you need advice, then you ask for it. Okay? So it's not like I'm mentoring somebody. We sit down and then I say, well, I've noticed that you've been rather moody, and here you should practice this and do that, and don't do this and don't do that. Okay? Somebody who's moody, that's, they want some understanding first. Then maybe they're open to some thought training and, things like that. But if you start out with the advice, you're losing them, because what's happening is they feel, nobody understands me. They're telling me what I'm feeling is wrong. But my feeling is my feeling. And of course, your feeling, your way of looking at things, may be totally off the wall and crazy. But at that moment, unless somebody understands you and you feel understood, your mind is closed. Yeah. So I'm not saying that's good. Having a closed mind is not very good. But if you're trying to mentor somebody, you have to realize that sometimes their mind may not be open to all your pearls of wisdom. Okay? That they just want to be heard. Okay. So that's one part of it. Yeah. Now, then another part is, the whole thing about helping. Yeah. And people want to help. When guests come here, they want to help. When little kids are around, they want to help. If anybody's ever noticed, little kids love helping. They feel grown up when they help. And I remember when I wrote to Ryder and Naomi asking for pictures to put in the book, A Compassionate Kitchen, they took some pictures of their two little kids. Cora was maybe 3 at the time, and Sage was, I don't know, most 5, 6. And you know, Naomi was working in the kitchen, and there they are, you know, kind of trying to cut things and move things from here and there and set the table. And, you know, when you're a little kid, it's like, you know, you set the table and everybody has 3 spoons and the napkin has fallen onto the ground and you pick it up and put it there. And, you know, it just, they're little kids. They don't know what they're doing, but they want to help. So if as a parent, there's 2 things. You either correct them, you know, don't put the napkin there, put it here. No, we don't need 3 spoons. Look, you know, put out 2 spoons. And you're constantly correcting the child. The child is going to feel like, oh, I'm completely inept. And helping is a setup for me failing. Because every time I try and help, I get criticized. I can't do it right. So I just won't help. I won't volunteer to help. Yeah, and then they grow up to be adults who don't like to help and who really resent when somebody asks them to help. Because in their mind, it's a setup to be criticized. You know, whoever asked you to help or whoever we want to help is just going to trash you. Okay? So this is something, if you're working, last time we talked about being in the kitchen, you know, and how disturbing it is when you cut the carrots one way one day and then somebody else is the head cook the next day and you start to cut the carrots the same way. And they say, no, don't cut the carrots that way, cut them this way. Okay, so here you are trying to help. Yeah, but you think there's one way to cut the carrots. Yeah, because when you cut the carrots, when you cook, the carrots can only be cut one way. Yeah, so somebody starts to cut them this way, and you walk over and you say, what are you doing? You know, cut the carrots this way into stripes, not this way into cylinders. And, you know, this happens enough, like 1 or 2 times, and you stop wanting to help in the kitchen because, again, it's a setup for somebody to be unhappy with what you're doing, even though you're doing your best, and even though, believe it or not, there isn't one right way to cut the carrots. And the lunch will probably turn out just as good if the carrots are cut the other way. Okay? So, you know, when you're asking somebody to help, yeah, either give them the instructions before they start to help about how you want the carrots cut, or let them cut the carrots any old way, and you just cook and it'll be fine. Yeah, that encouraging somebody else and letting them know that you appreciate their help is much more important in the long term than having the carrots cut the way you want. Okay. Yeah, we're communicating. So Then there's another element, is sometimes we don't want to let other people help. We can be the parent who doesn't want to deal with the kids putting out 5 forks and the napkins falling on the floor. And they pick their it up and wipe their hands and put it on the table, and the parents just don't want to deal with having to go and redo everything. So they tell the kids, oh, don't bother, I'll do it. Because the parent is thinking, if I let them help, it's just more time and energy for me. And I'm exhausted as it is, and I just want to get the job done, so it's easier to do it myself, because these people just don't know how to do it, and I'll have to fix it afterwards. Okay? So if you're a parent and you act like that towards your kids are not going to want to help. Okay, because they've been told, they can see in your face that before they've even started, you think they're going to fail, and that they're just going to be, oh God, I have to do it all over again. Why did I let somebody do this? Okay, so then the kids grow up not wanting to help. And then they come here and somebody asks them to help, and it's like, who are you asking me to help? I don't want to help. So, again, if you are, how the Abbey has its teams and you're a team leader, or at work, if you have a regular job and you are the manager, look at your own mind that doesn't want to give other people a chance, and your own mind that demands perfection and doesn't really want to go slowly and teach somebody how to do something, and doesn't want to let people figure out their own way to do it. Because, again, believe it or not, somebody new to the job may have some better ideas about how to make the job more efficient than you do, even though you're the senior, you're the boss, you're the manager, whatever you are. Okay? And so it's very important that we don't just think, oh, I'm the only one who can do this. Because it shuts people out. And people, they want to help, they want to feel like they can contribute. They want to feel that their energy is valued. And that starts when you're a little kid. You want to help. And as an adult, people come here, they want to help. But if we immediately, our thought is, oh, I got to get lunch out at a certain time, so I don't want them around because they just distract me and they don't get the carrots right, and I have to go back and cut them, and then they cook the carrots, and they either burn the carrots or they don't cook them enough, and I'm in a hurry. I got to get this all done. That that can again really make people feel like they don't belong. When you're allowed to help and you're given a task that you can help with, then you feel like you belong. And when you feel like you belong in a place, then you automatically want to help. Because that what you can do makes a difference, a positive difference in the lives of other living beings. Okay, so then what are you supposed to do if you're cooking and you have to stop and, because you forgot to tell them how to cut the carrots at the beginning. Now you have to go back and do it again. And now you have to go and tell them how long to cook it. And, it's just a pain in the neck for you. And lunch is late and everybody's sitting there going, So what do? Well, you think ahead before you start cooking. Oh, what a new idea. I knew there's going to be some different people helping me today in the kitchen, or helping me to, there's people that are going to help me in the office, or there are people who are going to help me out in the forest, or there's people who are going to help me, whatever it is. Think ahead and, and train the people, let them know how the task is done, and before they start, so you don't have to correct them. And then if they don't do it the way you want, but it turns out good anyway, open your mind, because maybe they know something you don't. Okay? But it's good to approach things like that rather than, oh, it's such a pain in the neck training somebody. Yeah. But really, because that's how you pass things down, isn't it? One generation trains the next generation. If you don't train the kids properly, then you get a bunch of brats. So, yeah. Yeah, so really these are just some simple examples that I'm giving, okay? And you can identify with them. But, think in other aspects too. Yeah. How does it really mean to help somebody and to train them? Yeah. When do they need you to actually sit down and hands-on explain it? When do they need you to just orally explain it? When do they need to just let you free and do what you want? Okay, so don't always see yourself as the junior and gee, these seniors, they didn't listen to that. I hope that, which, by the way, we should take this little talk and make it into a BBC and put it on. But it's like, I'm going to refer the seniors to go listen to this again. My boss has to listen to this talk, Don't see it that way, because all of us are at both ends. There are different things where we're the one who has to learn from somebody else how to do it, and different tasks where we're the one encouraging somebody to do it. And I remember Venerable Wu-Yin very clearly back in 1996, when she was teaching at Life as a Western Buddhist Nun. And she said, whoever has responsibility for that project, whether they're a junior or a senior, you follow their directions. Okay? So if a junior is managing a project, as a senior, you don't go in, and say, hey, cut it out. And as a junior also, when a senior is managing, you don't go in and say, what is it? Hey, boomer, or move over, boomer, or whatever it is, What? Okay, boomer, whatever it is, It means get out of here. So when you're the person in the follower role, be a good follower. Don't complain all the time. Yeah. We had a skit one time a few years ago, because people wearing the Anagarika clothes. It's different wearing Anagarika clothes. And the skit was so great. It wasn't just about Anagarika clothes, but it was about all these kinds of things. And one person coming up, I think you were in the skit, it's like, oh, it's too hot out and this has long sleeves. I want to wear short sleeves. And then somebody else saying, it has long sleeves, but I'm cold. I want to wear a jacket on top, but you're telling me to put my jacket underneath. And it had all the juniors coming and complaining. Yeah, which happens. Everybody wants to change it. And there's some things when you're training to be a monastic where this is the way something is done, because we're a community and we have to act together and do things as a group. Okay, so for example, we all try and hold our hands, put your palms together, tuck your thumbs in, and hold them straight up. Okay, now you may be used to holding your hands in front like this. Yeah, and saying, I take refuge in the Buddha, But at this Abbey, everybody's holding it like this. Yeah, and it is a little bit uncomfortable. It's much more comfortable go like this. Yeah, to do like this and so you get it like that, but then your palms are still separated. Yeah, and so when I was training in Taiwan, they would walk past you, and it was like, put your palms together, and they were always correcting my collar, and you can see to this day that it needs correction. Okay, but there's certain things when you're training that we want to look a certain way, walk a certain way. When we're doing the Namo Amitofu chanting and the serpentine walking, you look at the leader, okay, and hopefully you have a leader who's in step, and you pace yourself the way the leader does, okay? So that when the leader's putting their right foot forward, you're putting your right foot forward. And they put their left foot forward, you put your left foot forward. Okay? So it's the leader is walking in time with the beat. So as soon as you get in the beat, then it's okay. If you go downstairs or upstairs or make a transition from one room to the other, it's good just to check and make sure you're in step, okay? But most of the time, it's just we walk our own speed. Yeah. Or another thing, I won't say who, the leader has very big strides, and everybody else can't keep up with them. Yeah. Has anybody experienced that? And so you're kind of taking all sorts of little steps to keep up with them and still trying to hold to the beat, So, everybody needs to adjust in one way or another, okay? Okay, so just thought to say that. Venerable Chuni sent me some things to read this morning. Yeah, she's working very hard on all the things for the Buddha Hall. So she sent me all these other articles of things that she thought were interesting. I haven't read the one on Christian nationalism yet, but I did read the other two you sent me. So please continue working very hard. Okay, so let's come back to the text here. Okay, we'll again review with verse 46, okay? So Shantideva here is speaking to his disturbing emotions, okay? So it's saying disturbing conceptions here, but it means disturbing emotions and wrong views, distorted views. So deluded, disturbing conceptions, when forsaken by the eye of wisdom, when your wisdom is able to conquer the afflictive emotions and afflictive views, and you are dispelled from my mind, where will you go? Okay, so when you've perfected fortitude, when you've realized emptiness, where is your anger going to go? Where is your irritation going to go? Okay? If it goes in your stomach and you're getting anxious, then, you know, something is amiss in the way you're practicing because you're stuffing the emotions instead of applying the antidote. So, you know, combating the afflictive emotions doesn't mean stuffing them, okay, and pretending that you don't feel the way you feel. It means, in Sutrayana, it means looking at what the antidote is, which is usually the opposite of how you're looking at things, and applying that antidote so that you actually change your mind. You actually change how you are looking at things. Yeah, you're not just painting pink over purple. Yeah, you're eliminating the purple and then putting the pink. Okay. That's just an example. I'm not, you know, it's not a sexist, a racist example. Please don't take it the wrong way. Okay. Purple people, I am not oppressing you. And pink people, I am not praising you. I am talking about antidotes to anger. Okay, so the idea is, where do all these things go? Yeah? So where will you dwell in order to be able to injure me again later? Yeah, so they're not like an external enemy that goes somewhere else, regroups, develops a new strategy, and comes and attacks back. Once they've been fully conquered, they're obliterated, you know, they can't come back. Weak-minded, I have been reduced to making no effort. So here's a path to transform myself. But it's so hard, and I really don't feel like it. You know, tomorrow I'll do that. Today, I really don't feel like, you know, let me have my chocolate and be quiet. You know? Okay. So verse 47. If these disturbing conceptions do not exist within the objects, the sense organs, between the two, or elsewhere, then where in the world do they exist, and how could they harm the world? They are like an illusion. Thus I should dispel the fear within my heart and strive resolutely for wisdom. For no reason, why should I suffer so much in hell? So this verse is very interesting. Here, this verse is getting us to apply wisdom and understand the emptiness of the afflictions, okay? Because when we usually think of an affliction, it appears as one solid thing to us, you know? I have a problem with anger. I have a problem with greed, or whatever your problem is. I have a problem with low self-esteem. And that thing, you know, is one thing. Anger is one solid thing. Greed is one solid thing. Low self-esteem is doubly solid, one thing, you know. But here we're starting to analyze, what exactly is it? Okay, so one way of analyzing is, and this is when, you know, sometimes in psychology, when they talk about anger, you know, you're repressing your anger. So you get the idea, I don't know about you, but how I kind of visualize it is my anger is right there. It's one big solid thing, and it's sitting there, and it's one big solid thing, and it's just going to rise up and come out again. Okay? And it's the same anger I had before, and it's the same anger I'm always going to have, because I've always had a problem with anger, and there it is, and it's just going to, the same thing's going to come up. But is anger really one solid thing that is always the same every time? When we say the word anger, what is the basis of designation? What are we calling anger? Is there one solid thing in your mind that is anger? Or is anger, what we call anger, a designation on a series, on a group of mental states that have the similarity of having exaggerated the bad qualities of something and wanting to get away from it or destroy it? Okay? So is anger this one clump that it's anger and that you don't examine and ask what it is because it's just one permanent thing? Or is anger just a name you give on several things, several mental states that have a somewhat similar quality? Okay? How about low self-esteem or self-hatred or whatever you call it? Is it, self-hatred? There it is. One thing, as heavy as, what's the heaviest element? Helium? No. Oh, she's in the kitchen. Anyway, whatever the heaviest element is. Yeah. Anyway, the heaviest one. Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah, if she comes out, we'll ask her. Our resident physicist will know. We look at it, there it is. It's just this one heavy thing. Uranium is the heaviest one? Okay, thank you. So, it's one heavy thing that is permanent, that is, it's not going to change. It's just there. Yeah. But is it? Is it there already, just waiting to come up? Or what we call, self-hatred or, lack of self-confidence? Is it just a name that we give to various mental states that have a similar quality of criticizing ourselves? Yeah, it's just a name given to different things that we're grouping together. Okay, so it's the same way. I mean, when we say cup, we think the cup is one solid thing, but actually it's a name we're giving to a bunch of parts put in a certain arrangement. And aside from the parts put in that arrangement and are calling it cup, there's nothing we can point to that is a cup. So without there being a group of very different mental states that happen at different times that aren't always there, but they do have one quality in common, we label it lack of confidence, or we label it greed, or whatever it is. Okay. But it's not one solid thing. It's something that exists by being merely designated. When you think about your faults in that way, things kind of lighten up in your mind because you aren't thinking of them like this. Yeah. You're thinking of them as, like little dust motes that you're just having to, put a circle around and call a name, instead of something that's permanent, unchangeable in you, ready to rise up and attack you. Okay? So here in this verse 2, okay, so it's asking, let's take resentment, Okay, anybody have a problem with resentment? Let's take jealousy. That's even better. Let's take jealousy. Anybody have a problem with jealousy? No, nobody here has a problem with jealousy. Okay, but pretend you do, okay, for the sake of what I'm saying. Okay, so a disturbing emotion like jealousy does not exist in the object. Okay, so you're jealous of somebody else. Okay, we're jealous of Venerable so-and-so. Okay, so does your jealousy exist in Venerable so-and-so? No. Okay. How about the sense organs? Your eye faculty that is seeing Venerable so-and-so's body. Does the jealousy exist in your eye faculty? No. Okay. Does it exist between Venerable so-and-so and your eye faculty that's perceiving him? No. Okay. So Shantideva is saying, if this jealousy does not exist within the other person, within your sense faculty, or between the two, or anywhere else, does your jealousy exist somewhere else? Is it in somebody else? Do you catch it from somebody else? Yeah? Are you sure your jealousy isn't in that person? Because we say, you made me jealous, as if the jealousy is coming out of them like COVID, and it's attacking me, and I fall ill with jealousy that I caught from the other person. That's the way it sometimes feels, doesn't it? That you're making me jealous. Why do you have to act that way? You act so arrogant, and you know I get jealous, and it makes me unhappy. We act like it's coming from the other person. We also say, you made me angry. I didn't get angry. I'm a very harmonious, benevolent person. You made me angry. Yeah. The anger, the horrible thing is coming out of you. Again, here's the COVID virus, the COVID of anger. And I've got it. But the thing is, you can recover from COVID. It's going to go away at some point, or you die, and then you get another body, hopefully after COVID. But, you know, your illness isn't going to go hide somewhere else and then come back and get you. Okay? I mean, your illness could, come back and get you. But your jealousy, yeah, once you have recovered from COVID, it's not going to come back and get you. If you haven't recovered from it and you go out and do something stupid, then it'll get worse. We all know that, and we all go out and do stupid things. Not necessarily with COVID, but with other things, don't we? Yeah. Very often when we're sick, do we do what we need to do to recover when we're sick or when we're injured? No, we do what we feel like. Yeah, the doctor gives us instructions. Yeah, and we say, oh, thank you very much. And then we do what we want. Yeah. Okay. So where do they exist? Where do these afflictions exist, and how do they harm the world if we can't pinpoint exactly where they are? We say, they're not in Venerable so-and-so, they're not in between, they're not in my eye faculty, they're not between us, they're in my mind. My jealousy is in my mind. There it is. What color is it? Green. What texture is it? Grainy, pointy, and sharp. Okay, burning. Yeah, there it is. It's in my brain. Yeah. So some people say your jealousy is it's in here. Okay. So let's examine. For the sake of argument, you can open your skull. Are you going to find jealousy in your skull? No, you're going to find a bunch of gray stuff. Okay. Well, the jealousy is in the neurons. So you go and you look at a neuron. Does that neuron look like jealousy? It's not in the neuron. It's in the synapse between the neurons. So you look at the synapses between the neurons. Do you see something there that's jealousy? Yeah? Tell me, where is this jealousy? Yeah? Where is it? It's in my mind. It's formless. Well, okay, which consciousness is it in? Is it in your visual consciousness, your auditory consciousness, your olfactory consciousness, your gustatory consciousness, your tactile consciousness, your mental consciousness? Where is the jealousy? Which consciousness? Oh, it's in my mental consciousness. I've found it. Which mental consciousness? The one that's thinking about lunch? The one that's thinking about emptiness? The one that's sleeping? The one that is remembering Venerable so-and-so? Which mental consciousness is your jealousy in? Or is your jealousy? Which one? Okay. So you look all over. Where is this? They say even, you look under the rocks, you look under the table, you look everywhere. Where is that jealousy? Because you want to catch it and smash it. Okay? So where do they exist and how do they harm the world? How does my jealousy make me miserable and make me do things that make other people miserable when I'm jealous? How does it operate? How does jealousy make me miserable? How does it make me move my mouth to say, this person's really an idiot? Because we have to put down the person we're jealous of, don't we? Yeah. So what is it? How does that work? Okay. So your conclusion, Shantideva says, they are like an illusion. Yeah. The jealousy is an appearance that when you analyze and try and find out exactly what it is, you can't identify something that is it. It appears to be one solid thing. It does not exist the way it appears because it isn't one solid thing. So it appears, so it functions. The appearance functions. Yeah, jealousy functions. But we can't find something that is it when we analyze. So that's how the two truths come together on one base. Okay? Something appears, but you can't find it when you analyze. Okay. They are like an illusion. Thus I should dispel the fear within my heart and strive resolutely for wisdom. Why am I so afraid of my afflictions? Why am I so weak in, when faced with them? They're not even something I can find as one solid thing. Yeah. So this is going back to the last line of the previous verse. Weak-minded, I have been reduced to making no effort. So this verse is analyzing, why am I so weak-minded? And, you come up when you've done this analysis, like, it doesn't make any sense. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to feel like it's so huge that I have to, call out the National Guard and everything. Okay? For no real reason, why should I suffer so much in hell? So when I act out my jealousy and I say all these nasty things and I interfere with somebody else's happiness because I'm jealous, then I experience the result of a lower rebirth. So why should I keep experiencing these awful rebirths over something that I can't even find when I look for it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so, this, you realize that thought has a lot of power. Thought has more power than external things. The mind has more power than external things. Because the mind is what created this whole thing.
And questions about the elsewhere in the fourfold analysis. I always get confused by this one. The example you used was like someone giving you anger. But that kind of felt like between the two in my perception of things. I'm confused what elsewhere is.
Elsewhere it just means anywhere else. Yeah, it doesn't have to be something specific here. It's just saying, is it in the object? Is it in the sense organ? Is it elsewhere? And then your mind says, it's in my mind. I mean, it's in my brain. It's in here. And then we analyze, is it in here? Because then your brain becomes the elsewhere. And then it's not in your brain, then it's in my mind. So your mind becomes the elsewhere. Yeah. Or maybe you think your jealousy is, hidden underneath the basket of flowers. So you look under there. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'll do the next verse and then we'll again pause for questions. Did that answer you okay? Yeah, of course. Okay, verse 48. Therefore, having thought about this well, I should try to put these precepts into practice just as they have been explained. So precepts doesn't necessarily mean something that we've taken, in the presence of the Buddha. Precept can also mean advice, Okay, thus I should try and to put this advice into practice just as it has been explained. Yeah. If the doctor's instructions are ignored, how will a patient in need of a cure be healed by the medicine? So this analogy of the Buddha being like a doctor, the Dharma being like the medicine, and the Sangha being like the nurses, it comes up a lot. Yeah. So first we have to get our relationship with our doctor correct. When the doctor gives us advice, Yeah. Well, you check out the doctor first. You don't go to some quack, okay? So you check out the qualities of the doctor first. And if you say, oh, he looks qualified, then follow the instructions, take the medicine. Yeah. Don't just get the prescription and then put it, in your back pocket and forget about it. Or don't fill the prescription, or don't go to physical therapy or occupational therapy or whatever was prescribed for you. And then just say, this doesn't help me, I don't need it. And so you stop taking the medicine, you stop going for the therapy. Yeah. Really try and follow the instructions and see if it works. And if it's not working, sometimes it could be that you need a higher dose or you need a longer prescription. Yeah, or sometimes they need to change it a little bit. But give it a chance. Don't just meditate on the antidote to jealousy one time and think that your jealousy is all going to be bye-bye. It's gonna take some time and repetition. Okay. Okay, so that finishes the 4th chapter on conscientiousness. So we'll pause again for questions here.
It's mostly a comment, Venerable. When I'm able to really analyze the power of the mind by this type of deluded thinking, then the idea of the mind being able to create the causes to have the Buddha bodies does not seem so out there. The power to be able to create the kind of reality that the deluded mind creates for us and the suffering. The opposite of that, to use the same power of this mind to be able to create the kind of wisdom, the kind of reality that a Buddha has, doesn't seem like it's out in space somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Because you realize the whole potential is inside here. Yeah, it's the mind that creates heaven, it's the mind that creates hell.
Regarding the last verse, applying the medicine, it seems to be sometimes very difficult for people to do, in worldly aspect as well as in Dharma aspect. So do you have some more advice to give to students?
Okay. So in worldly aspect, that's where the nurses comes in. When you're having trouble taking the medicine because you forgot there's, so many pills, and you take, 1 blue one in the morning and 3 green ones in the afternoon and a pink one at night, or do you take 3 purple ones in the morning and 1 chartreuse one at lunch, and, so you forget. So similarly, in our Dharma practice, we forget what the antidotes are. Okay, so then you turn to the nurses. Yeah, the nurses remind you what to practice. So you turn to your Dharma friends, you turn to the Sangha. Yeah, this is why living in a Sangha community is very important. If you're going to ordain, living in a community is important because you get the support of everybody else who's practicing. And when you aren't taking your medicine, or you're getting confused about how to take it, you can get immediate help from the Sangha around you. If you're living out on your own, it's hard to find the people who will, if I can't remember, what pills to take, okay. Well, I did it just this last week. I went to Venerable Jigme because I wanted to know how many amoxicillin I had to take before I go to the dentist, And she told me, and I believe her, and that's how many I'll take. And she even told me when to take it, okay? So I'll do that. But if Venerable Jigme isn't here, okay, maybe I'll go on the internet. I asked Venerable Semke, but actually, she gave me the wrong number. It's 4. Yours was 2, okay, but mine was actually 4. So, yeah. So in the same way, the nurse also there's a big pill. If you've ever taken Tibetan medicine, we call them dirt balls. They come in these, well, actually, they're about this big, maybe, like the size of a nickel. I don't know if people even use nickels anymore, but this, around the size, it's a sphere, and they're really hard. They're the kind that will send you to the dentist with a broken tooth. So, you forget how to take your Tibetan medicine. Yeah. And you need help with it. So the nurse takes it and puts it in a mortar and pestle and grinds it up, okay, and mixes it with some applesauce, and then takes a spoon and goes open wide, zoom, and helps you to take the medicine. Okay? So in the same way, when we're practicing, we're trying to work on something. And, it's like it's hard work. The Sangha can, cheer us up and let us know we're not the only ones. And they can give us some tips on how to practice. Yeah? And, new ways to look at something.
So to go back, where is your anger? Where is your jealousy?
Yeah.
I think some people have a theory that it's in the body. And sometimes the advice is like, look in the body. Where's your anger? It's in your stomach. We'll focus on that area.
Yeah.
But there's also this theory that we store memories kind of in the energy centers of our body. And then they get blocked, and that's why we get sick. And then we have to purify, to remove these blockages. So how would you explain that?
Yeah. Okay. So the way I would look at it, and other people have different ideas, is, okay, my anger's in my stomach. I visualize my stomach and I look, and, there's whatever I ate for breakfast, but I don't see any anger, And already when I just do that, and there's no anger in my stomach, already my stomach starts to react, to relax. Whereas if I visualize the anger as, what's it called? The Chinese, the very heavy rice. Sticky rice. If I imagine my anger as a ball of sticky rice, because the way my body functions, if I eat sticky rice, it's right there at the bottom of my stomach for a while. Okay. So if I think my anger is like a ball of sticky rice, but even heavier, and it's sitting there at the bottom of my stomach, and it's not going anywhere, then I'm going to really feel like my stomach's going to hurt. Okay. If I think, oh, you open it up and there's, the remnants of, what was their pancakes, that's not anger. And, you can relax your stomach a bit. Now, memories being stored in parts of your body, I don't think the memories themselves are there, because memories are consciousnesses, okay? But I think that just as there is a relationship between the brain and the mind, there can be a relationship between parts of your body that are particularly sensitive because you've had a previous experience where that part of your body was injured, So that part of your body is sensitive, but I wouldn't say the memory is there stuck in the part of your body. Yeah. Because I find for me, whenever I concretize something and I say it's there, then also in my mind it becomes heavier. If I just say, I had, when I was little, I got whacked And so this part of my body where I was whacked, it's really sensitive. And, if sometimes somebody just touches it too hard, I flare up. It's not that the memory is there. It's the part of your body is associated with the memory. Okay. Yeah. So I don't see it as the memory's in there and I have to take the memory out and, You might visualize that if that helps you, thinking of the memory of getting beaten and, is inside there and you take it and throw it out, fine. But I prefer not to think of it as something in there to start with.
Yes, that's exactly how I experience it, is that especially for traumatic situations, the memory is so vivid and so strong. And it's associated with a particular part of the body. It could be also associated with a smell. It could be associated with a sound.
Right.
It could be associated not just with the particular type of the body, but also a sensation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when those things are replicated by another situation, that memory comes about again with all of the other things that are attached to that memory, whether it be anger, it would be sense of vulnerability, a sense of fear, so all that is sort of linked together.
Yeah.
And that's how, in my experience, it works.
Right. Yeah. I like the way you said it's an association. Yeah. And so one small thing triggers it. And that thing, that's maybe physical thing, is associated with that previous experience. Okay. And that triggers the whole flashback or whatever it is. But it's interesting. There's a few things to ask here, and I may push some buttons. Okay. First thing is, it triggers that memory. Is that incident happening now? What's the difference between a memory and a current experience?
Yeah, it seems like for the brain, the strength of the memory makes it appear as if it's happening now. It has that same strength. It fools the brain and the mind thinking it's happening now.
It fools the brain. But is it happening now? It appears to be happening now. Is it happening now? No. Hold on. Okay. Somebody beat me up in first grade. And now, as an adult, somebody called me the same name that they called me in first grade right before they beat me up. I hear that name, even though they call it somebody else now, and I get this whole fear reaction of here comes somebody to beat me up. Is somebody beating me up right now? No. Okay, so you may say the brain gets fooled. But again, is the experience in the brain? Yeah. If you had a brain there without a mind, would that experience be there in that brain? Yeah. You had a brain, but there was no mind. Would that experience? Can the brain, which is physical material, is it itself what experiences? No, it's physical material. Yeah. And it can be dissected into all its elemental parts. Yeah. What the brain is doing, it may have an association with the experience, but it is not the experience. Okay. So this experience, this memory that comes back so strong, it's in the mind. It's not happening now. And then another question to ask is my memory of what happened is it an objective reality? The person who beat me up, does that person see the situation in first grade the same way as I see it? When you remember something, are you remembering everything about it from everybody's perspective? Or are you remembering it from your own perspective and having it filtered through my perspective is the most important. My perspective is the one reality. Is there one reality? You know, this is what comes up so often in so many situations, you know, that happen where people see a situation one way, somebody else in the same situation sees it in a totally different way. And they impute different motives on all of the different players, and they impute different degrees of harm on all the players. But when we remember something, it's through the viewpoint of me. And of course, my viewpoint is one objective, correct reality. Is it? Really? My viewpoint is the only reality. My viewpoint is objective. It's never exaggerated. My viewpoint notices every detail in the situation. Really? Okay, so hold on. So I find, this is talking for myself personally, that asking myself these kinds of questions loosens the whole situation. Because I see it's like a movie that I'm playing in my own mind. It's not an objective reality. If it's a movie I'm playing, I can play a different movie. Or if I want to play the movie of this situation, I could play it from the other person's point of view and try and really understand what the other person is going through. Let me give you an example. I will give you some time. Hold on. I'm reading Obama's book right now, A Promised Land. What I am so impressed with is he's on the campaign trail. And you'll remember his first run for president. He was campaigning heavily against Hillary. And it was getting really rough. And insults going back and forth and everything like that. And Obama, in his book, he talks about Hillary's strengths. And he talks about how Hillary must be looking at him as here's this young kid, inexperienced. He's only, he was a state senator. He's only partway through his term as a U.S. senator. He's young, no experience. And he's coming in and he thinks that he's the most qualified. And Obama is saying this, about how Hillary is probably looking at him. And he's also admiring her strengths and saying how clear she is and how qualified she is and how she's really done her homework on all these issues. And she knows how to handle stress and everything. It's amazing, and I really respect him for it because he was able to look at the situation of how she must be looking at him when they're competing with each other. Yeah? And that took So by doing that, he didn't hate her. He saw her good qualities and then asked her to be Secretary of State because he knew she would do a good job. Okay? So this is the thing when we can see that our perspective is not one objective reality. Yeah? Now your turn. Okay.
In fact, I am not going to disagree at all with what you're saying. I completely agree with what you're saying. In fact, I wanted to give a testimony to that practice of checking back and asking ourselves, am I in that same situation? Because a few years back here at the Abbey, I had a very strong flashback about a very traumatic experience. And it was a situation that triggered it, and I kept on saying that to myself exactly. Look at the situation, look at where you're at, see your surroundings, see yourself, see the other person. You're not in that same situation. So the problem, well, not the problem. What goes along with that, however, is that it takes a lot of effort and continued practice to make the brain believe and understand that you are in a very different situation. So it's not something that happens that you can turn off on a dime. It requires that
Yes.
very, what can I say, focused sort of intervention, like an antidote almost. It's like an antidote. Here is some idea or some image that the brain is presenting, and you're trying to present the other idea.
How about instead of saying the brain is doing that,
The mind, I'm sorry.
say the mind
The
is
mind.
doing it.
So the
If you
mind is
say the
presenting-
brain, you're solidifying it.
Yes, thank you, Venerable.
Yeah.
So it and it may at that particular moment help to restrain some of the more overt behaviors and feelings and reactions to that, but it does not completely undermine it. It requires some lengthy work to be able to do that.
Right.
That's all I wanted to add. That's
Right. It requires lengthy work. That's why we call it practice. It's the same as Dharma practice. You don't apply the antidote once. It's a thing of rehabituating the mind. Yeah, and it takes practice. The thing that is hard for us is in our present society, we expect things to happen quickly. You put however much money it requires to buy a soft drink in a machine, you get that drink right away. On your computer, you click, and the thing comes up right away. If there's a slight delay in how it comes up, like even a half a second, do you get irritated? It's like, wait. Yeah. It's like, I clicked it. Why do I have to wait a half a second for this to come up? It should be immediate. So this is, how we are habituated from our society. So we have to actually change that habit too, of thinking that it's going to be quick, it's going to be easy, I do it once, and I'm enlightened. So that's why we need the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. We need the doctor, the medicine, and the nurse. Yeah. But if you keep doing it, things change. That's the thing.